Tim Onlu goes over a tenth of a second fast.
Good evening everyone and welcome to Formula Trout Premier Series Round 4 at Mugello. This is the Challenger Split. As said, we are at Mugello, currently in the lead, in provisional pole position I should say, not in the lead, the race has not started yet. Provisional pole position in qualifying is Spencer Owens with a 1:17.3. I am Alex Cochran, I am joined by Christoph Berzer, can't pronounce his name still, but hello Christoph.
Good evening everyone.
Good evening, and as we are just watching Spencer Owens coming around the track now, I'm not sure if he's on a lap, not sure if he's on an in-lap or an out-lap, but he is currently our pole sitter with a 17.3, which is a very, very good lap. Just behind is Columba Griffiths, can't pronounce his name, still, with a 17.4. Me and Christoph were just discussing this before we started the stream. And then Ivan, who I don't think is a new register, but I don't think he's raced yet, has he?
No, he was supposed to do, I think, the second race. I can't remember which track it was, unfortunately. He was set to race, and then he ran into personal issues and couldn't make it. But yes, this is his debut race. But he's registered since the start of the season, you're correct.
Yeah, I knew I'd seen his name around, but I hadn't seen him on track yet, so it's good to see him back. He's currently P3 with a 17.5, so very, very close for pole. Only 2/10 between those top three so far. We're following Spencer going through the first sector now in his qualifying lap. P4 is Yates, Jackie Yates, who is a new driver here in Trout. He has maybe done a few races last season. Oh, it's Griffiths takes pole actually with a 17.2, so ahead of Owens, but here's Owens on his lap. He might be able to beat it this time around 7 minutes 30 seconds to go. Yes, Jackie Yates, who I think did a race or two last season, but hasn't. He's actually our head of stewarding here at Formula Trout, isn't he?
Yeah, he also started moderating last season. Has taken over head of, or is sharing head of stewards together with Maximilian Younger.
Yeah, he's a very valued member of Formula Trout League, but he's not really been on track that much. But here he is on track with a 17.6 in P4 at the moment, so it's a good start for him. And on the topic of him, don't want to show a bit biased because this is actually mine and Christoph's team, but this is a TT BAC Racing, which is a continuation of Thick Tax last season, as actually Owens does set pole position, so that is a 17 dead for his lap that time, as we'll switch back to Yates. Yeah, he is the new driver for our new team on the grid and Challenger Split. Obviously started last season, had a brief fight for some wins and some Yates comes into it, some wins, some podiums, but you know, fizzled out at the end, and then yeah, we weren't on the grid at the start, but here they are, they're back. I'll try not to show any bias, but I'll do my best. Hilgar in the Master Split was sometimes guilty of that, but you know. But here's Dmitry Kamishov, who actually just set 17.3 and gone third fastest. He was obviously our winner first time out at the Nürburgring. I think didn't do too well the race after, allowed Darian to get in front, but Darian's actually not making this round. Unfortunately, he is not on the grid. I think he had some issues and he's not participating, and he's our current championship leader, I believe, after winning at the at round 2, and then not sure where he finished last time out. In the end, we had quite an interesting race last time out at Zandvoort.
Pretty sure Darren finished on the podium. I think he has like 1, 2, 3, 1, 1. He was on podium. He was on podium all the races previously, if I remember correct.
Yeah, he's like a very, very skilled driver. You know, his results clearly show it. It's a shame not to have him here this round, but I think we've definitely still got a race on our hands. As I said, Owens is P1, Griffiths P2, and then Kamishov P3. All just 3/10 still, so and we've still 5 minutes left to go in qualifying, so it's not over yet. Kamishov just rounding the final corner. Is he starting his lap? No, he's coming into the pits, of course. He just set his just beat his previous time. I think Griffiths is on a lap. He's 2/10 off his current best, but definitely could make that up around the rest of the lap. Now Mugello, very, very tricky circuit in these cars. Like, I've been driving, practicing for the Master Split race coming up next, and this double right-hander that Columba just went through, very, very tricky corner. He's actually on an in-lap, I think, backing out, letting the traffic through, or trying to, but I think they're on an in-lap too. A bit of miscommunication, yeah. Yeah, that double right-hander, not sure what's going on in the background. They're all jostling for position, I think, to try to set a lap, or maybe on their in-laps a bit of miscommunication, I don't know. It's one of the younger GP cars, I think, Academy cars. Could be Carlos Camanis. Yeah, it's Carlos, so I think he must just be starting a lap. Wow, Cyprian Stoyan actually just set a lap good for P6 with a 17.8. I've said many times, our Challenger Split champion here, and back in the Challenger Split. He did a good showing last time out. Maybe we can do a good showing again at Mugello. But yes, sorry, as I was saying, the double right-hander, the porpoising in these VRC Formula Alpha cars, very, very tricky to handle. The car bouncing in the high speed, and then a track like this, you have a very bumpy uphill right-hander. You know, the car's shaking all over the place. You really have to just grip the steering wheel and hope for the best with some of the cars our guys have here.
I mean, it's the fourth race of the season, so most of the teams have fixed porpoising. But at the apex, at both apexes of this double right-hander, you have like a big bump. So when you drive across that, it starts to unsettle the car again, and it needs some time to calm down, to settle down again, and that really induces understeer or oversteer or both, which is really bad.
Yeah, I mean, you can see Spencer Owens here porpoising down that straight. As he hits the bumps, it just unsettles the car a bit. It calms down again, but that happens to you mid-corner, you can really get into trouble. I think Spencer Owens is starting probably his last lap now, so coming through the first section of these corners, very, very sweeping corners here at Mugello. No margin for error, grass either side, little bit of curve to let you go through. Columba Griffiths goes P1 for the time being, but we'll keep following Spencer Owens round. Now this is coming into those double right-handers, but first you have a very fast right-left chicane, almost flatten these cars if you get it right, and there's going to be traffic for him, and he has to back out the lap. Really unfortunate there. That's a big shame for Spencer Owens there, coming into that double right-hander I described, and yeah, just a car on the inside. I don't really think the car on the inside could have done anything there. It's just the nature of the track. It's incredibly high speed, corner after corner, relentless in a different way to Zandvoort was, but still, you know, never time to rest at a track like this. And yeah, that car on the apex unfortunately ruined Spencer Owens' lap there, but he might get another go. There is still 2 minutes remaining.
Yeah, if he has enough. Everywhere. Oh boy, that's a queue.
Yeah.
That's a big queue.
Yeah, so
that's enough time if he has enough fuel.
Space. Sorry, Christoph.
Yeah, I was just saying, if he has enough fuel, you don't have to do an in-lap on your last lap. You can basically park it after you cross the start-finish line. And enough battery, you just might as well go for it again.
He actually come into the pits, but there is 1 minute 20 roughly for an outlap, so he might be able to get out again. See if he manages to. It'll be a shame if he loses any chance at pole because of that traffic. But here's Kamishov on his lap again in the first sector. These sweeping corners. There is traffic in front of him. This time again, I hope it's not going to impede him too much. Oh, is there traffic in front? That's a big wobble there, and actually goes off. So that's cleared the run for Kamishov. Now this is where Spencer Owens had his issues before. This double right-hander, that was due to traffic obviously, but with Kamishov you can see the car bouncing up and down mid-corner. You can just about keep on it, but not too happy through there. But then after that, back to normal, service as usual. So right, left, as is the tradition at this kind of track, just chicane after chicane after chicane.
I think he's on an outlap, if you watch the time at the bottom right.
Yeah, although I don't think he is. I believe that is a mistake. I'm going to keep commentating this like it's a hot lap. Yeah, flat out left, right chicane there, and then the final corner's a very long downhill. There's a few long downhill, uphill corners like this, and they're all slightly different. Just have to manage them differently. Yeah, so Kamishov looks like it would, yeah, hot lap actually, so we'll see what time he can do if he can beat Owens or Griffith. He does improve his time, but not by enough to get in front, so that will be Kamishov's play over. Now Jack Yates in P4, can he improve in the TT BAC racing car? We will see. I think he is on a hot lap, or at least he's going to just squeeze in an outlap. Yes, so he's just just starting his out lap, I believe. Just managed it with 3
Hot
seconds
lap.
to go. Will Owens get on his hot lap? Oh, that was close. I think actually Owens just manages to cross the line there to start his hot lap, so we will run with Spencer Owens. See what he can do. Jack Yates just in front will cross the line earlier. Oh, and he has a big slap of oversteer into turn 1. That's going to have lost him a bucket load of time already. I think he might have backed out of it already. But he's taking it a bit easy. I wonder if maybe he was really pushing on the outlap and he's actually cooked his tyres. So at a track like this, I imagine most of the grid is going to be on those the soft C4 tyres. They're the best qualifying tyre for sure. However, a track like this with the constant right-handers, car from the outside there, just punishes the tyres.
Yeah, it does. I mean, this is basically, you don't really have braking zones. You have, well, the braking zones are very short. You don't have long straights or straights at all, except for the main straight. So you're basically constantly turning at very high speed. It just kills the tires.
And on the outlap, if he was really trying to get back to the pits as fast as possible on his outlap, he can just cook his tires. Usually you'd go slow here and allow them to cool down, but if he just had to push the whole way, it's going to make turn 1 very, very difficult, and the rest of the lap's just going to be survival. We'll see if he can beat his time. Jack Yates actually shows P3 with a 17-point dead.
Oh, he can't, he just
Owens
misses
not
out.
able to improve. Actually goes 1,000th slower, I think that was there. So almost identical time, even with that earlier issue. But yeah, I think that is our pole will be Columba Griffiths.
He lost 2 tenths in the first sector, and that's where he gained on the laps before compared to Griffiths.
So we'll just run through the top 10. Columba Griffiths for Griffin Red in P1 with a 16.8. Very, very good lap time there. Spencer Owens, after just missing out on 2 laps there, 17 dead. Not a bad effort for sure, but that's P2 for Supernal. Jack Yates, P3. Kamishov in P4. Ivan in P5. Carter Jackson, P6. Cyprian in P7. Peters, P8. Kay in P9. And Adam Woodward rounds out the top 10 in P10. So the cars are already on the grid. So quite a quick wait. Reset back to pits.
Quite quick transition time today. I'm not sure what went wrong, but if everyone's here, yeah.
A bad thing though, we'll get right down to racing straight away. The lights are already starting to come on. 1, 2, 3, and as usual, the weird 6 in Assetto Corsa are out, and the cars are underway. There's a car stalling in the back of the grid there. Looks like one of the Gulf cars. Looks like, other than that, everyone's managed to get away okay. Spencer Owens is on the outside, attacking Columba Griffiths. I think he is actually in front. No, but Griffiths has the inside line, manages to stay in front. Kamishov also takes the lead, with Owens getting pushed out wide. Now Yates is having a look on the outside after losing out a little bit for Kamishov, but manages to stay P4. Owens in P3. Yates and Ivan behind, fighting for position. The camera angles are not the best here, unfortunately.
Still says qualifying.
Thank you. Thank you, Hilgot, who just joined the stream to notify me of that. It now says race as we follow Columba Griffiths in P1. Manages to keep that P1 after it looked like he didn't get the best start in the world, but Kamishov got past Owens in P2. You know, he was trying to get around the outside of Columba and just fell back. But in the background, what's going on? We've lost a few cars. Stephen Hetner dropping a lot of positions there. I think Stoian was the one who had issues at the start. He's all the way down in P17. Unfortunate to see a car stalling or not starting on the grid. I don't know if maybe the quick rate time just didn't get him ready for it. But there's a yellow flag already for Stoian. Yeah, he's gone off in the sector 3, so not sure what's going on there, but we ride on board with Spencer Owens down this start-finish straight, popping away as he gets into turn 1. Nowhere near close enough to make a pass yet, but he stays there. We've got 3 laps to go and he'll have that DRS and a helping hand he needs to get past. See, all the cars, top 3, are all bunched up on these opening laps of the race. Now it's 1.5 seconds to Yates behind, so these top 3 are in a class of their own already. But it looks like, although obviously not. Maybe Yates just made a little wobble and then everyone else behind has to drop back a little bit. But very hard to follow through these fast corners. Easier than it would have been last season with the RSS Formula Hybrid 2021 cars. The front wings on those, the whole car was supposed to replicate the Formula 1 regulations from previous years, and they were hard to follow. These more modern cars, a bit easier to follow, and it's replicated here in Assetto Corsa with the VRC Formula Alpha. good job for them, and it gives us a very, very good race up ahead. We've got Stoyan, Kay, and Jackson all in the pits, and I think Jackson's actually just DNF'd from the race.
Yeah, he was running last. I think he ran into trouble on the opening lap.
It's a shame to see, yeah, for sure, on the debut race for his new team. He was driving for the Rising Sun, and that has been rebranded to the TTBAC. But here we are, the top three, going down that start-finish straight. Barely 6-7 tenths between them, all setting very, very good lap times for the opening thing. With Spencer the fastest of all of them, he gets the double toe. Ooh, Kamishov looks to the inside of his teammate there, but thinks better of it. Griffiths does survive that one. Now, wonder if Kamishov or Griffiths are a little faster. Owens or Kamishov are a little faster than Griffiths up in front, and you know they're running very, very close already, just managing to keep that gap, even though they're running close with that dirty air, and they don't have the DRS yet either.
The DRS on this track here is shortened. Traditionally you have it all the way down the straight. But obviously with these cars it's very easy to follow. It is more of a whoever is behind will definitely make the passes. Owens makes a mistake, runs wide and loses. Actually, nearly drops out of the DRS. He drops out of the DRS. Period.
Thought he was going off there, but yeah, manages to keep it on the road. But that puts Yates just within 6 tenths. Kamishov's actually lost a second to Griffiths in front as well, so he's actually out of the DRS there. I wonder if a little mistake for Kamishov as well there has allowed Griffiths to pull away. Kamishov, importantly, won't get the DRS. We won't be pulling a DRS train along with Griffiths. It'll be Kamishov leading the train. Yeah, you can see Owens with that DRS wide open already. Gets closer, nowhere near close enough. Now, after a lot of feedback we got at Imola, after the bit of crazy passing fest we had there, the Formula Trout League admin team has decided to shorten the DRS zones in some of the longer straights. So here at Mugello, it would have been a very similar story to Imola. If you were close, you would pass, but we've actually shortened the DRS zone a little bit to, you know, make you have to work for those overtakes a little more, which is what we want to see, and I'm sure what the drivers would rather have. DRS passes, although nice at the time, were a little artificial sometimes, and at Imola that definitely was the case, unfortunately. But yeah, here at Mugello, it should be on for a much closer race this time around, and all three are within 1 second once again, so Kamishov and Owens closing back up to Columba.
The DRS should be a compensation for what you lose in dirty air, and if these cars have less dirty air, you obviously need less DRS as compensation. And in Imola, it was really the case that whoever was behind, no matter if he just entered the 1 second, he would definitely pass on the main straight, as long as he had a good enough exit.
Yeah, exactly, but here is Kamishov going round the outside of Columba. Columba actually loses the car a little bit there, manages to keep it going, but that's Kamishov up into P1 with that DRS Christoph was talking about, manages to make the overtake on his teammate. Owens just behind, not able to do the same. Yeah, Columba was on the inside there defending from his teammate, and I think he just took a little too much curb and lost the rear of the car. Manages to save it, but he's dropped back a little bit. Might be able to get back past the DRS though, you never know. But Owens is just behind him as well, so not over yet for both drivers. Down the field though, we have 3 cars in the pits at the back there. Oh, has Columbus actually gone off? Sorry, missed that. I was like, oh no. Columba in the gravel, loses it into the chicane, and actually allows... No, I'm sorry. It's Kamishov. Kamishov made the mistake. Getting muddled up between the two Griffin red cars there. So Columba now regains the lead. Kamishov in P1 makes the mistake after taking the lead and allows Owens, Yates and Ivan and everyone through, in fact. He's dropped down to P6. I thought he was still in P4, but that's another Griffin red car of Ivan actually fighting away there. Yates on the softer, the harder C2 tyres, getting overtaken by Ivan there. Yeah, sorry for the sorry for the confusion there, but in almost a replica of last season's race where we lost the leader made a mistake last season. made the overtake and then lost the overtake almost a lap later in almost similar circumstances. So there must be something about Mugello that catches these drivers out. But up at front, it's Owens behind Columba here. They've already caught traffic. Oh, we did see the couple of the incidents at the start, and clearly some cars that got involved in that just had to pit early, and it's put them in the traffic already. It's going to destroy their races, unfortunately, and just the way it is sometimes, and hopefully it doesn't affect our leader's race too much. Ivan having to take avoiding action there.
One thing to keep an eye on is the top three, Griffiths, Owens, and Ivan are all on C3, whereas Jack Yates is on the C2 tire. So he's on a different strategy, and it'll be interesting to see how it will turn out.
Yeah, definitely, but here's Yates actually making an overtake on Ivan once again. Owens up in front was actually looking for a move on Columba there as we followed around with Yates. Didn't get it done, but had a look on the inside. Definitely, that was one of the Anderson pair making it that we were following, who clearly made a mistake and was off the track. Managed to keep it going again in P12 he is currently. But yeah, so the top 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 both battling for position. I wonder if the traffic is just putting these groups close together again. You can see Griffiths going through that double uphill right-hander here is stuck behind this traffic. They might not necessarily be slow, they've just had to pit due to the damage, due to that stuff earlier on in the race, and hopefully they do get out of the way if they are going to impede. There's a car off there, I'm not sure who that is. That was one of the Anderson pair again.
Or maybe he gets lucky, so he can get DRS from the back marker, which could save him.
Yeah, so the back marker's clearly shuffling around here. The car that is in front should be getting out of the way with the blue flags. Ended up being the other way around there. But yeah, good point, Christoph. Now, get DRS off the car in front, but it doesn't matter if they're on the lap behind or a lap in front. You'll get the DRS either way. So we have a huge train of cars here. Not clear which ones are which, because they're all on different laps. But yeah, there's one of the TT cars going to the inside, letting Columba through. Oh, Columba's wide again actually there, but Owens not near enough to make a mistake, to make the pass, even though Columba made the mistake there. But just 3 tenths separating these top pair, and then 6 tenths to Yates and 6 tenths to Ivan behind as well. Oh, he runs wide. Owens runs wide through the S's, allows Yates to get through. So that is now Yates in P2. Owens, who was fighting Columba for the lead, is now in P3. Might have to defend off Ivan behind. Jack Yates in P2. Now that's given Columba a bit of breathing room space actually, but we saw Kamishov have a bit of breathing space, and then he made the mistake and dropped all the way down to P5. Actually managed to get past Kamanis for P5. He actually dropped P6 in the first place as well. Yeah, disaster for Owens after quite a strong start to the race. Obviously he dropped back a little bit, but managed to work his way back up into P2, back down into P3 once again. Traffic in front of these cars again. I don't know who that is. I think that is one of the... not sure who that is, unfortunately.
That could be James K, I think.
Could perhaps be James K, who is actually going to unlap themselves on our leader here. As said before, they are completely allowed to do that. If they are faster, they can do it, and he clearly feels he's faster. So there he goes, hopefully not impeding the leader too much, although I fear he is just about to. Has actually allowed Yates to close up within 2 tenths there. Actually, both manages to get through, but yeah, you can see Yates right on the tail of Columba here. Ooh, runs a little wide, but doesn't do what Owens does. Manages to stay mostly on the track and mostly have a grip to get that good exit. And he follow through these right-handers. We have the porpoising. Following another car through there makes it even worse. Just the less grip just can really make you wash out, and you do not want to run wide there. You'll have a huge crash. Yeah, manages to keep it on the road okay, manages to stay behind Yates, stay behind Columba, and he will have the DRS if he can keep it up like this.
I mean, as long as the straight is and as powerful as DRS is, it is nearly impossible to overtake anywhere else on the track, because you just don't have a braking zone where you can challenge into, unless the guy ahead makes a big mistake.
Exactly, but you know, you have these long straights, the little braking zones, makes ERS management a very big challenge. Obviously these cars, hybrid power units, you have to recharge the battery in the braking zones, and when you don't have any braking zones and you have lots of straight, it makes it very difficult. But here's Yates looking to the inside. Columba's got it covered, tries to go around the outside, not able to do it. Tries to get a bit of a switchback, but the straight is nowhere near long enough for that to work around here. Gets a little bit of slide through there, but manages to stay on the road. But not on the exit does he manage to stay on the road, as he runs wide again through there. Pushing a little bit hard, maybe heating the tyres up a little bit. Running in this traffic is going to warm those tyres up, and a track like this is very difficult. But Yates is actually on those harder C2 tyres, so he will have a longer tyre life than Griffiths. So even if he can't get past straight away, it's not the end of the world, because as soon as Griffiths pits, he's going to be unleashed basically and have those the extra tyre life to just push for a little more laps, and hopefully won't get stuck in traffic, which might happen to any of the early pitters. As we've already seen, traffic can be quite bad effect on your race around here.
Question is if Yates just does the reverse strategy, if he goes back to C3 later, because if he does, then he should really make a pass there, because all the time now he's losing. And
Sorry,
Dimitri
Kamishov
is
made
off
another
again.
mistake. Yeah. Oh. I thought he was going to come into contact with another car. Yeah, that's the fast left-right chicane in the last sector. He's clearly made a mistake, but here's Yates looking on the outside, trying to dummy Columba Griffiths. He was unaffected and manages to stay on the road. Action all over the field, but yeah, that was Kamishov. Made another mistake, unfortunately. Didn't lose any positions, but almost came into contact with another car there. I thought we were going to see a very, very big crash there as Leonidu? I don't know how to pronounce your name. Sorry, they're both into the pits, P6 and P7, so that's Kamishov into the pits after the mistake. But Yates is still right behind Columba here. You saw him try and make the move. He had the little problems last time, but as I said, he's on the harder tyre. Maybe Columba's tyres have started to drop off. We are on lap 11 of 39. That is quite a long way for the C3s to have gone already. Owens behind is on those C3 tyres as well, and he's starting to drop back from Yates as well. So just the field is spreading out a little bit with this tyre life degrading, and Yates is able to keep up with the car in front. Oh, but Columba actually goes a little deep there. We'll hopefully get a good exit for his sake, but then Yates is right behind, just 3/10, and he hasn't even got to the DRS yet. He's going to look to the outside, but this time he's alongside before he's even got to the DRS and makes the move halfway down the straight. Can Columba come back at him? No way he can. Yates far in front into turn 1 and takes the lead. Yates is putting a really impressive showing in for his return to Formula Trout League after not being around for a few races, and this is obviously the return of BAC here, so it's good to see. But Griffiths is right on his tail still, so it's not over yet. Owens just behind, lurking in the background. You know, if these two make a mistake, get a bit argy-bargy, that could be Owens in P1. You never know.
Alex, I will leave you for a minute. I will be back shortly.
No problem. Goodbye, Christoph. You just have me now commentating, and hopefully Christoph will be back. I'm sure you heard that anyway. The magic of streaming on Assetto Corsa with our setup means you kind of hear everything, including Windows notification sounds sometimes. Yeah, up in front, Yates is still leading on lap 12 out of 39 after DAC Racing Mugello Grand Prix. It's not the Mugello Grand Prix, but it's also not the Italian Grand Prix, as we have Mugello, Imola, and Monza on the calendar this season. Actually, I'm not actually sure what Grand Prix this is, but it is Mugello. Yeah, you can see Yates has already pulled a huge gap to Griffiths there. He's actually lost 1 second to Yates. Owens, meanwhile, is roughly matching Yates' pace as he's porpoising down into turn 1 there. Might put Columba at risk of losing that P2 position to Owens. Now, you know, in the early stage of the race, Owens clearly had the measure of Columba, trying to make those overtakes, trying to get past. Wasn't actually able to do so, but was clearly the faster driver as he is closing in again in this first sector. Further back down the field, we have Stephen Hetner trying to pass Knowles for P6. He'll have the DRS. He's not quite close enough to be able to make the move, but never say never. Seen some impressive moves from Hetner. He's a very experienced driver here at Formula Trout. Done a lot of races as Knowles locks up, but manages to stay in front for the time being. Cyprian Stoyan as well, who was unfortunately involved in that incident earlier on. He's currently in P12. I think he did an early pit stop. He's on the C2 tyres, I think. Yeah, he's done one pit stop. He's ran those C2 tyres basically since lap 1. So he's going to have to be making another pass, which is unfortunate for him. He's running P12 at the moment. Don't count him out for a good points finish, but I think any chance at the win is probably over for him. Up in the front, we have Yates. As what's happened here? The timing screen is bugged, but that is Spencer Owens right on the tail of Columba Griffiths. So I wonder if the timing screen is not bugged, and maybe momentarily Owens got in front of Columba there. It's just within 3/10 now in this first sector. We'll ride on board for the time being. Very, very close through these very high speed downhill right, left, and the double rights I've spoke about so often. The car bouncing through there, manages to stay on the road, manages to stay within 6/10 of Columba. Oh, what the?
Oh.
Oh.
No. Track limits.
Yes, I'm not 100% what happened there. Unfortunately, Owens has just lost P3 there. He was fighting P2 with Columba, and he's either made a mistake or some Holy Spirit has come down and forced him to put the track. I'm not 100% what happened. That's a new one, but he's managed to keep going okay. I don't know if there was just some weird lag there or something happened, but yeah, quite unfortunate for him. But yeah, that has allowed Ivan up into P3. Griffiths to have a clear track behind him, which would be probably quite the relief, because Owens was right on his tail. I have no idea what happened there. I don't know if it was just a mistake and the car suddenly stepped out, but to me it looked like he kind of teleported to the side of the road.
Maybe it was bad connection together with a driver error, so
Yeah,
he would just drive on and then teleport to the side.
It was a very, very weird one. But what? Oh, Hetner has actually got past Knowles into the last corner there. Apparently, no, he hasn't. No, he hasn't. Ignore the timing screen. It's wrong. Knowles is still in front. Oh, there's a yellow flag out again for Hetner. He's made Owens. He's made another mistake. It looks like in the first sector this time. Gets back on the road, but that's him down into P5. Allows Carlos Skamanis to go through. Disaster for Owens. Just makes one mistake, loses P3, and then he's dropped down to P5. Looks like he has damage as well. He's going to have to pit for sure. I think he might even have a bit of suspension damage there. His wheel does not look too straight as he passes where he made the mistake before. I wonder if you know, you make the one mistake, heats the tyres up, you might bonk the wings a little bit, damage them, and then next time you go around, you know, you try to take a corner exactly the same as you did, and it just does not comply, and the car flies off the track, which, you know, might be what just happened to Owens there as he's dropped to P5. But Ivan in the pits in P3. We'll see what tyres he goes on to. That's a lap 16 pit stop. He was on the C3 tyres, I believe, so see what tyres he goes on to. Meanwhile, Columba and Yates in front will be watching him with great interest, having to think what tyres they're going to switch on to. Not the earliest pit stop in the world, obviously it's lap 16, there is 23 laps to go or so, so it would be a C3, C2 strategy, could be possible, I suppose. But it's see how he manages. Owen's in the pits now as well, so yeah, he clearly felt he had some kind of damage or some problems. Ivan's come out in P4, quite the clear track in front of him, just Carlos Skamanis, who's 10 seconds up the road, so he will be able to bang in some real fast qualifying almost laps with this clear track. He's going to have fresh tyres, slightly less fuel than he had at the start of the race, and will just be able to push as hard as he can to try close that gap up to Columba and Yates in front. You can see he's actually pushing so hard in his outlap already, so he's really trying to make up those places, make up that time. But Yates does not come in yet. Now, as I said, he's on the C2 tyres, so he can't do C2. C2, you have to run C2, C3, C2, C4, C4. You know, you can't run the same tyre. But Columba, behind, in P2, is pitting. He will probably be going onto the C2 tyre as well as Ivan did. It'll be interesting to see who comes out in front. Where is Ivan? Just coming through the last corner now. Perfect last corner, in fact. So he's...
That could be very close.
Yeah, so here's Griffiths on the pit entry. We can just see Ivan behind, passing the line. Yeah, start-finish line, but yeah, not not able to make that difference long enough. That was a very quick outlap, and he has closed the gap down to 3.5 seconds roughly. But yeah, Griffiths covered him off, pitted when he needed to, didn't lose that position, didn't get undercut as it turns out. But might, you know, this often happens. You know, you have two drivers, one pits, and then the other one replicates it or covers him off. But then you find out at the end of the race, both drivers can't really make it to the end on the current tyres. They can try, and then maybe they'll lose some positions, you know, 'cause they're just that slow at the end of the race, or they take the other pit stop and hope that they can go in an overtaking frenzy basically and just pass as many cars before the before the checkered flag falls by going on the soft tyres for maybe the last 5-10 laps or so. But Yates in front actually still has not pit, so he is on the C2 tyres. He is not falling for the for the trick of the cars behind. He's obviously going to have to go on the C3s or try a two-stop, which probably wouldn't be a very good idea, I don't think, at a track like this. So yeah, but ooh, Kamishov looks like he's falling down the order again. I'm not sure what's happened, but that's Kamishov in P9. Owens, who did pit, is in P8. I don't know if he made a mistake again, or it's just the timer screen going a bit everywhere. We've seen that happen a few times this race so far. Yeah, Ivan with a 120.3, so he's setting good laps on those fresh C2 tyres.
Well, the times are not obvious. It just looks like the TV tower is wrong. Maybe something with the track. It's spooked by the soft tires that aren't used here. I don't know. Haunted.
Owens with a 120.6, roughly matching what Ivan did in P3. Yeah, Kamishov did a 122.3, so he must have made a little mistake, but too much to lose him out that much. Must have just dropped behind Owens, I think, because I saw him fall down the order just a little tiny bit. Yates with a 120.9, so although he's on those 19 lap C2 tyres, he's actually only 0.2 slower than Ivan behind. So, and he had a very, very large gap to Ivan, very large gap to Plumber as well after their mistakes. So that's going to allow Yates to not pull away, but just maintain this gap. And then as soon as he switches to those harder C3 tyres near the end stages of the race, maybe lap 26, 27, he might consider switching. He's going to be absolutely rapid on those soft tyres and hopefully be in front still. No, he's not pit yet. Owens in P8, a bit of a recovery drive for him now, unfortunately, after those earlier mistakes. Right behind No-Do.
I think Yates might pit around lap 22 to 25, because that is what how many laps most of the C3 runners did, like 15 to 17.
Ooh, camera's going all over the place.
So yeah.
Owens looking for a move, makes the move only on one of the two cars in front of him. Skamanis is a car with following within P6. Owens takes P7 and Leonardo drops to P8 after Owens makes that quite easy DRS overtake, but you know, that's the way you want to do it. And yeah, again, Yates 120.7 actually matching Ivan that time around, so real fantastic lap times for him. Comes Owens though, right on the tail of Skamanis. He was the faster driver at the start of the round. He's obviously only dropped back because of the mistakes, and going to be trying to fight his way back past here. Should be able to without too much hassle, I imagine. He is a very, very skilled driver. He did a very good job last season here in Formula Trout with that DRS helping on that start-finish straight, which I'm sure he'll probably wait for when he's this close. No need to try a desperate overtake. It's not like it's the last lap of the race. Yeah, 120.5 from Ivan just there. So, little faster than Yates in P1, but not enough to make that gap close.
Alex, I have very interesting information for you on Jack Yates after we watched the potential overtake of Owens against Skamanis. He closes in, the DRS opens, he goes to the outside, and he should be way ahead going into the braking zone. Easy move, despite the shortened DRS.
Great job for a great move for Owens there. Yes, what is it, Christoph? What information do you have?
I have the information that Jack Yates was slightly speeding into the pit lane, so he should be at least 3 seconds clear to be, without a doubt, the winner of this race by the end of the last lap.
Now that's an interesting thing for sure. Obviously, we've seen it last season. Well, yeah, last season we didn't have pit entry penalties like that. You could just fly into the pit lane like it was the 1960s. No speed limits, but this season we've implemented the speed limits. Carlos Skamanis, who is actually driving right now in P7, developed a fantastic app which allows us to check these things with very, very low performance overheads, unlike some others out there. And it allows us just to improve the racing a little bit. But if you break those speed limits, you lose out. You're going to get a penalty for doing that, and Yates may have just fell foul of that. As you say, if he has at least 3 seconds, could be 5, could be 10, depending on how fast he actually sped into the pit lane. We'll find out post-race.
I think it will be a 3-second penalty. It was a very small infringement, but we will never know if... we won't know yet if there are any incidents, any of the other... or any other penalties the other drivers run into.
There was Owens just getting past Stephen Hetner for P5, so this recovery drive, recovering well back up to P5 from dropping down to P9, P10 I think he was at one point. Kamishov unfortunately in the pit lane again, I think, so clearly some problems for him there. But Yates in P1, 20.6, not a bad job at all, really managing those tyres well. But with that penalty, I don't know if he knows, he probably will. It does say in his in the little chat app we have in the corner, will say that he has that penalty and he'll have that in the back of his mind. He needs to get that gap at the end of the race, and that's Kamishov out of the race. So one of our championship, one of the guys battling for the championship would have had an easy run this time round without Darian here. Unfortunately, after that mistake earlier on, after the problems he's had, has dropped out of the points and then out of the race in the end. So unfortunate to see that is one of the Griffin Red cars out of the race. Switch to Owens, actually looking for a move on Knowles here. Recovery drive still going very well, getting position after position in these last few laps. I think he was backing off there just to get the DRS on Knowles, and he's going to have that DRS. It's going to be alongside before he even gets it open, and here it is open. He's just going to fly past like he did on Skamanis, fly past like he did on Hetner, and that is P4 for Owens behind Yates, Griffiths and Ivan. Hetner's actually pitting again, I think. I don't know if he pitted earlier on, but I thought he did pit, but maybe he didn't. But here's Skamanis actually overtaking Andreas Leonodu here. I think he might have made a bit of a mistake there. They were side by side in turn 2, and Skamanis has managed to get in front. It's a very good showing actually this time out for Skamanis, I will say. He's done a good job so far. Ooh, as Andreas takes a little bit too much curb there and just runs into the gravel. Gets it back going okay, but could have been a lot worse, and his battle with Skamanis is over for the time being. But Yates up in front, still not pitted yet on those C2 tyres. Columba setting 120.3, Ivan setting 120.2. So they're getting a bit faster. Now Yates obviously won't be getting faster, those tyres are now 23 laps old. But, he's clearly still pushing hard. I wonder if Hetner's actually had a problem, because he's pitted and he's dropped down to last almost. P13 he is now, only 2 cars behind him, and they're both multiple laps down, so there's some of the guys that have got involved in incidents. He's come out the pit lane now, but I wonder if he had damage and he had to pit to fix that. Here comes Yates around the final corner. Will he pit this time around? It's probably still a little early. Oh, he does. So that is Yates coming into the pit lane on lap 23 out of 39. Columba behind has 30 seconds he needs to catch to get in front of Yates, and I have a feeling he will not close anywhere near as much as that. Maybe 20.
I don't know what the gap is for pitting here.
No, I don't think it's going to be anywhere near as much as 20 seconds. But we'll see. Here comes Yates out the pit lane now. You can just see Columba in the background of the shot coming through that last corner, so that's going to be a huge gap for Yates, and he's on those softer tyres, those C3 tyres, so he's going to be rapid now. Columba tries he might, setting that 120.1. It's almost for nothing, because he's going to have to close an 8-second gap, and Yates has that tyre advantage until the end of the race. She runs wide there on his outlap. Yeah, those C3 tyres, he's going to push them for 15-16 laps. We saw guys at the start driving them for 15-16 laps, so he's definitely got the strategy planned, and it looks like it might work out for him. Don't rule out any errors yet, though. As I said, last season we were here, we had the leader making quite a commanding overtake, start to pull the gap, and then he made the mistake, and it was back and forth, and I think that was Jace Merrick who took the win in the end, as Hetner DNFs from the race, so Hetner clearly did have some issue, and has dropped out of the race, unfortunately. So one of the other TT BAC racing cars, which I think, don't get me wrong, please correct me if I'm wrong, I should say. I think this has took over the Rising Sun Racing team, or the entry at least.
Yes.
Car in front of pits. So he actually gets an easy run there. Yeah, so TT BAC Racing, you know, came in last season as an independent team. Rising Sun was another team, and in some kind of weird discussion, it has actually ended up taking over the Rising Sun team. So yeah, I suppose a team disappears and then comes back after taking another team. That's happened in real life.
Yeah, it does. I don't know if I would call it politics, but like Aston Martin and what was Force India, Racing Point and Force India, the team just gets new ownership, gets new drivers, whereas the factory basically stays the same. So things happen. The livery also stayed roughly the same, just switch colors.
Yeah, I suppose it is a thing which does happen. The livery is very similar. It just matches the aesthetic of last season's team, which actually happened to both have similar teams. As you say, it's a bit like real life Formula One, where you have Honda was obviously an entry in the mid 2000s, 2008. They left, became Braun. Then Mercedes takes over that Braun team to become Mercedes, which we all know, and then Honda comes back with Red Bull. So Honda is basically racing against the old Honda team for the championship. They did manage to actually get that last season for the drivers, not for the constructors. Oh, Skamanis almost gets into the back of a lapped car there. The lapped car unlapping himself. It just flies off the background. Don't know who that was. That was one of the Anderson. The Anderson pair flew off in the background there. He repassed Skamanis and then makes a mistake and flies off the track. Keeps it out the barrier, but anyway, that was a very high-speed incident as he actually loses it again, so he's going to have dirt on those tyres, very hot tyres as well. You can see all the tracks in the gravel from where drivers have made a mistake as the leader does pass Anderson there. He is stopped at the side of the track with yellow flags.
Yeah. Jack is really pulling in some really solid lap times on the C3 tire. The gap has extended by more than 1 second since he pitted two laps ago. But then again, it's a really long way to the checkered flag. So it could be close in the end if the C3 tires really cliff. Because it looked like Jack was getting more and more of an advantage in the first stint where he was running the C2, and Griffiths and the other leaders, or the other front runners, were running the C3. They dropped off really, really quickly, so let's see for how long he can keep up that pace. 9.2 already.
Obviously he gained that gap in the pit lane, the strategy, and then has managed to maintain and improve it with those fresher tyres. As you say, they might drop off at the end. These other cars are on the softer tyres, the harder tyres even. But yeah, it's a very big gap to make up. There's 12 laps remaining in this race. I'm not sure. He'd have to be closing around a second a lap with a tyre disadvantage. I don't think that's likely to happen. He's actually behind some traffic here. His Columba hopefully lets him through soon enough. I actually feel quite bad for the traffic here. This is one of the tracks where it's very difficult to let cars behind through. There's not many long straights, not many parts where, you know, you can easily back off and not lose a lot of time as he actually moves to the racing line there to get out of the way, which isn't the best, but manages to get past okay, and that's allowed Columba to continue with his pursuit of Yates. 120.1 that time around for Yates. We'll see what Columba can do, see what Ivan behind can do. It's a 1 minute 20.7 for Columba, which is actually a little bit faster, I think. 120.6 for Ivan behind, so they're all closing, but as I said, you need to close around a second a lap and that 1/10 is 10 times slower than you need to be. Was one of the Anderson pair gets out of the way. I think that was Joel Anderson after his problems last time out. Last lap it was. But yeah, Yates in P1, 10 seconds, the gap briefly hit there. Really pushing and really making those C3 tyres work. We don't have many cars closed up together on track at the moment. Stoian under pressure here from, fortunately, I can't pronounce your name, and I'm not going to make an attempt to pronounce it. If you want to send me a voice message with how to pronounce your name, I'm a very ignorant English person who can't speak any non-English names, so I'm not even going to attempt that. But he is driving in the VAC racing car. He is one of Christoph's signings, and I think, as he showed you his pace, Christoph, is there any reason you signed?
Well, he asked for drive, and he's one of the few people who said they actually want to drive, and he was very chatty. He was very open about anything, about how his race pace, how his preparation is going, how possible strategy. And you don't want to sign someone who just says, oh yeah, okay, I'll drive for you, and then never message and leave after 2 races. You want to have the guys who stick around. Like, I mean, he might not be as fast as Jack Yates today, but you need to be there every race to pull in points and win a championship. And I think that's where I definitely see potential in him. And I also see he has told me before that Mugello definitely is not his track. So I expect him to pick up the pace in the next races. But then again, the season is really long. It's just race 4 out of 12, and as most people in Formula Trout are aware, the last races matter more than the first ones.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, as you say, we're only a third into the season, and attitude can be a big part of sim racing. You don't necessarily have to just be the fastest driver out there. If you're the fastest driver out there, but you only turn up to 3 out of the 12 races, a team isn't really going to want to sign you there. So yeah, it's a really good point. And on that topic, if anyone does want to get involved with Formula Trout League, click the invite link below. We're always welcome to have more drivers. You could jump in the Challenger Split. If you're fast enough, you might get into that Master Split category we have, race with some of the fastest sim racers on Assetto Corsa in these open wheel cars. And yeah, but don't be dissuaded if you're not maybe the fastest driver out there. As long as you have the right attitude, you're willing to race, there's always plenty of abilities here, plenty of people to race, and get involved. I wasn't quite sure what was happening there, but just as I was saying that, one of the leaders there, one of the Griffin Red cars, looked like he let him through and then let him back through again. I don't know if he made a mistake and just looked like that, but that's put Andreas Leonardo on the right tail end of him, as he's just pitted. Actually, he pitted just last lap. I think he's going to be on those C3 tyres as well. He is on C4 tyres. Wow, so Andreas Leonardo has actually made the move already. I wonder if that's a bit of a game though to get the DRS for him. We'll see if it does work out. He's right behind him. You'll have the tyre disadvantage, but maybe we've seen it before. We saw it at Imola, back off before the braking zone, get that DRS, and then fly back past on the straight, and that looks like it is what's going to happen. He's alongside into turn 1. He's in front for turn 1, and he... Ooh.
The outside for turn 1 is the inside for turn 2, so he could...
Ooh, I think Andreas, is off there. Yes, so he's in the gravel with that tyre advantage, with those... Oh, as he spins again. Yeah, with those C4 tyres, he manages to stay on the outside there, on the... Yeah, you would expect him just to get pushed out wide and lose it, but he actually managed to stay alongside and then into that next left-hander. They tried to both take the corner together, and 2 into 1 doesn't really go, and a bit of contact made Andreas Leonardo go off the track into the gravel. He's not lost any positions, but he has lost a lot of time on those C4 tyres, which do not last very long at the best of times, and not gonna last very long after a spin like that. But, yeah, incursion to the gravel like that. and then another spin actually. So, but yeah, Yates up in front, saying a 19.9. So he's on the C3 tyres, bit harder than the C4s that Andreas is on, but manages to get a 119.9, which is now faster than Griffiths. So unless he makes a mistake, I don't want to say it's sealed for him, but he's doing a stellar job out there. Actually, going back down the field a little bit, Cyprian Stoyan, who had that error issue on the grid earlier on, stalled, had the tyre issue or whatever it was, lost a few positions, has managed to find way back up to P6, and he is on the C3 tyre, so he's done another pit stop. Must be going to the end now. He was on the harder C2s earlier, and I think he has fought his way back up to P6 on merit, so great job from Cyprian Stoyan there in the Gulf car. Anderson is now right on the tail. Oh, was a little bit wide.
I wonder what tire he went on. Is that another C4 tire? Wow.
Yeah, it looks like it. Skamanis actually comes to the pit lane, so great move there for Anderson. Did not expect him to see a car pass in the first sector like that, but he managed to get in front, and the car behind will not have the DRS like they would normally have because there's a load of corners coming up. They're just going to drop back, but Skamanis in P5 is in the pit lane, just exiting now. He has a very, very large gap to Stoyan behind actually, so might be going for fastest lap. There's 6 laps remaining. He's on the C3 tyres. Doesn't hurt to pit early and maybe just try, give yourself a little space, give yourself a little room, and try get that extra point for fastest lap. Stoyan is 3 seconds behind, and I think Skamanis with that tyre advantage should be able to cover him off for the rest of the race.
Jack Yates today, absolutely stainless, just like the livery. Didn't put a foot wrong today. Until now, commentators' cars.
Yeah, he's been doing a great job. Like I said, this is his, I want to say his return to Formula Track after not being around so much. He's, as I said, he is one of the members of the admin team here, or one of the moderators. He does a very, very good job there. So he's not been gone, but he's been gone on track, and he's doing a good job on track, especially on your return like this, to be leading the race. 6 laps to go, a 10-second gap. Can't really complain about that. I'm sure a few Master Split teams might be interested in just taking a look at him. You never know. Be that Griffin or someone else.
Definitely.
But Columba behind, 19.8. Staying reasonable laps, but still a 10-second gap. It's been hovering around 10, 9, 11 seconds for around the last 5, 6, 7 laps. Yeah, not able to close the gaps, and as you say, Yates not made a mistake, not put a foot wrong so far. Doing a great job.
I think the tires are starting to drop off now, but the gap and Yates' pace was just so massive that it doesn't matter.
It's that's the kind of thing, you maybe you'll be the worst tyre, you'll be on the worst strategy, you might be suffering on those tyres, but as long as you keep it on the road, as long as you don't make a mistake, the gaps that you build up in the early stages of the race can really pay off at the end, and this is what's happening here. Last time out for me at Zandvoort, I don't know really if you caught it on the stream. I'm sure Kilgore was watching it a little bit because one of his drivers was involved. I went on the C3 tyre, I think, or the C2 tyre it was, not the hard C1s, and I was like, oh yeah, I'm going to risk it going on these C2s, and that was a mistake. The tyres just dropped off, and I couldn't build that gap up in the early stages of the race, and I just fell down like a rock. I think I went from P6, P7, P8, P9, P10 in around 6 or 7 laps or so when the tyres went off, and it was not the best feeling as a driver. You see these cars coming up behind you, there's nothing you can do, you can't get away, you see them get past, and then you're just like, yep, I'm gonna have to let them get on with their race now because I cannot follow them, I cannot keep up. And then that just happens over and over again until you end up in P11, as it was for me by the end of the race, out of the points. So bit of a disaster, but that's the way it goes sometimes. Carlos Skamanis in P7 after his pit stop. I think, oh, he must have made a mistake. I'm sorry for missing this, but Stoyan is actually in P5 now. I said he was pitting for fastest lap, but Stoyan P5, Skamanis P7 behind Knowles, so he must have made a mistake dropping a few positions. I said he'd done a great job so far. Unfortunately, might have cursed him a little bit with that comment, and yeah, he's dropped back a little bit. He does have those fresh C3 tyres, and he's right behind Knowles here, so we'll be looking for an overtake into the next straight, which is just after these long sequence of left, right, hairpin, and then another left, right, and another hairpin. Kind of the theme of this track. Knowles almost inviting him down the inside there. I wonder if Knowles actually wants him to get past so he can get that DRS, but Carlos does not fall for it, does not make a desperate move. Knowles goes to back off, but Carlos backs off too. He'll get the DRS on the start-finish line where the opening point is. The detection point is just before that corner, and both drivers playing the game. But here comes Skamanis alongside already. DRS open at the start-finish line and in front. Covers the inside a little bit, but no need almost. He's 4 or 5 car lengths in front already. Good bit of racecraft, not in a traditional sense there, but good bit of racecraft from both drivers there, and Skamanis gets back up to P6.
Except for P10. Yeah. Jacob. He's not gaining really anything right now. Quite surprised. Yeah, I think there's a big aero difference between these two cars. He's even losing in that even in the slipstream. But then you see how much he's gaining back here. Oh yeah. He needs to play the last corner really smart, because the last 2 laps he was just running super wide. He needs to cut back. he needs to run wide on the entry, and then as he looks to the inside, maybe this time around, this looks better. This looks much better. With the superior wing around the outside. Ooh.
There's no audio. There's no audio. Sorry. No. Like maybe 2 laps.
Unfortunately, I was just brought to my attention that there was no audio on the stream. Yates took
There's
the
no
win,
audio from you. There's
but
audio
there is now.
from me.
There is audio for me now.
Okay.
Thank you, Kilgore. Yes, Jack Yates takes the win. Unfortunately, for those last 2 laps, he was not on the stream. But great job for Yates there. Did not put a foot wrong all race. Griffiths in P2, Ivan P3, Spencer Owens in P4, and Stoyan was a lap down in P5. Although I think that's wrong. Have we lost a driver there? No, we haven't lost a driver there. That is correct. As some drivers leave, the standings do get a little confused last time at the end of the race. But yeah, sorry about that. I was apparently muted my mic at the end of the race there, and I was not aware. So it was a bit silent as Yates comes into the pit lane after his cool down lap after taking an absolutely fantastic win here at Mugello. And I will be going to the Master Split race now, and Kilgore will hopefully be streaming the Master Split race, so stay tuned for that. Thank you, everyone. I was Alex Cochran, and goodbye.
I was Christoph Bose.
Oh, sorry, Christoph, yes. Goodbye.